Welcome back, everybody, to Well Life Wednesday. I am your host, Cristy Hooper, licensed clinical mental health counselor supervisor.
And I'm Iris Super, your licensed clinical addiction specialist associate. Thank you again for joining us as we continue to important conversation that support emotional wellness, healing, and personal growth.
That's right. And today we are discussing a topic that is incredibly important, but often overlooked: men and mental health, breaking the silence. For generations, many men have been taught to be strong, tough, and self reliant. Unfortunately, those messages often come with the belief that expressing emotions or asking for help is a sign of weakness.
That's so true, Christy. The reality is that men experience depression, anxiety, trauma, grief, stress, burnout, and addiction just like everyone else. Yet many suffer in silence because they don't feel safe about talking about what they're carrying.
That's right. But we are excited to have a special guest, Iris, today, joining us to help us explore this conversation from a male perspective.
Yes, joining us today is Marcus Gaddy, mental health social work therapist and a licensed clinical addiction specialist associate as well. Marcus, thank you again for being here with us.
I appreciate y'all for having me today.
Thank you so much for being our guest. So let's jump in, guys. Marcus, why do you think so many men struggle to openly discuss their mental health?
I would say, from my perspective, it's just environment, right, and learned behavior, right. I think a lot of us growing up, we watch our parents deal with stress, and we kind of, copy the way that they deal with stress. If you
Right.
seen your dad was an avid drinker or smoked cigarettes, a lot of the times that's how we feel like that's how we were supposed to deal with stress, and we were never taught healthy coping skills. Also, society teaches us that men are to be tough, right? Men are to
Right.
be, can't cry or show emotions. So a lot of times we have to mask our emotions, mask how we feel. On top of, if your dad didn't have healthy coping skills, you didn't
Mhm.
have anything to model or follow, right? So I think as a dad, that's why a lot of times I try to work out, exercise, show my boys like healthy ways to cope when they feel overwhelmed or stressed. But I think a lot of it is the stigma, and not having the healthy coping skills to kind of work through those emotions.
Right, Marcus, with everything you said, emotional suppression can show up in a lot of unhealthy ways. Instead of saying, I'm overwhelmed, a man may say, I'm fine, while drinking every night, isolating himself, working nonstop, becoming increasingly angry. Those are all unhealthy signs when they don't really know how to communicate what they're really feeling.
Yeah. I,
Yeah,
I
absolutely
think
right.
that's such an important distinction, you guys. Many men have learned how to survive, but never learned how to process their emotions, like Marcus said. It's your environment, where we grew up, how we grew up. One of the important things I heard Marcus say was modeling.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of times, especially when you're dealing with the adult, unlearned, unhealed adult trauma or things that went on in the home, is because what they experienced during childhood. When we realize that, when you really understand your parents and understand their genetic makeup and their environment growing up, and what they did or didn't have from the didn't receive from the grandparents, they're giving you what they have.
Yeah,
Right, right.
And in that sense, it's almost like once you get to a maturity level, even though it's still hurt and it was unfair what you experienced, I understand it now.
yeah,
If
definitely,
that makes
100%.
sense.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And Christian, when feelings stay buried, like you said, when they don't deal with it, it can come back from the past, things that they haven't dealt with. It can often show up through anger, substance use, relationship problems, emotional detachment, and physical health issue if it's not fully addressed.
I totally agree. That's why it's very important that, at that younger age, to develop those coping skills. And like you said, a lot of times our parents didn't have the skills, right? They just wasn't taught. So
Mm-hmm.
modeling is very important. And I think it's one of the root causes of why you may see men masking emotions and feelings.
Good.
Yeah, that's so true.
Well, what does depression look like in men? Let's talk about that because many people picture sadness when they think about depression, Marcus. But what does that look like for men?
Comment for the most part, comment, as a therapist and just being a man and just wearing that hat, right? A lot of times I think you may identify the overworking, right? Trying to avoid reality. So you're working a lot, doing things to keep yourself busy so you don't have to sit with yourself. A lot of times you may have see substance use, right? A lot of substance use in those situations when individuals are depressed. Being super hypersexual, I think that's a symptom that
That's a
I
good
think gets overlooked at times.
one.
Right? Just being able, and that's another drug, if, so to
That's
speak, right? It's
Right,
kind of
yeah.
avoidance or pleasure, right? Pleasure seeking. So you will see that a lot of times. When we talking about males, and then also you do have those personality disorders where individuals are acting like things are fine, right? Being
right.
able a false sense of reality,
Yeah, yeah.
being able to say, "Oh, I'm good, I'm this, I'm that, I'm doing this." In reality, they're trying to escape the reality of feeling depressed and miserable, and not liking the situation that they're in.
I, Marcus, it almost is like what I hear you saying is for men, for women or children, you can see that. Children is probably behavioral, their sadness.
Most
For
definitely,
women, yeah, for women, you can actually see sadness or isolation, withdrawn. But for men, it's almost like they're on automatic pilot.
Mm,
Like it's just a consistent go. Like you said, I'm fine. Nothing's wrong. They keep going. All these other things that they seek out, they're still active but not even seeing like you said, what I look as depression might not look like that for somebody else.
right? Exactly. You might think they're perfectly fine, or
Mhm.
they're doing well, or financially they're in the best situation. Because a lot of times, like you said, when we're masking, we want the public or the individual to make it seem like we're fine, so we're going to do everything to elaborate that, right? Or make
Yeah.
that false sense of reality look even better. But in reality, when we got to sit with ourselves, it's a complete opposite.
That's
and everything you guys saying, that's the family members or any their loved ones can miss the signs if
that's
they're masking and not really talking about what they're doing or what they're going through. They may say they're just stressed out, and sometimes that's what men will say. I'm just stressed out. When reality is they're struggling emotionally.
hmm
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
you hear that a lot, especially if you think about growing up and your uncles and your grandmama and you hear the aunties talking, he all right, he just going through something. But we don't
Hmm.
know what that is. And they
Right,
don't
right,
know
right.
what that is. It's just that they see him drinking a lot or being aggressive in his communication, that type of thing. Like they be like, oh, that's just Uncle Joe. We just brush
right,
it off.
Hmm.
right. Like it's just normal, right? Like that's
Right, right.
just
Yeah.
personality. That's just their personality, and
Mhm.
this is how they show up. But again, like you said, in another, just being overly aggressive. I think I just heard you mention that. That can be a sign of being depressed, violent, a lot of DV.
Hmm. Yeah.
All that definitely leads to signs of depression.
Yeah. I often tell clients that functioning isn't the same as thriving. And
Mm.
I don't think a lot of people stop to sit and think about that. Because I'm functioning means I'm good. I can still
Yeah,
go to work. I can still pay my bills. I can still manage my family. But you're not thriving. You're not living. You're not happy. You're not well.
Hmm.
There's a difference there. You want to function in your best place possible. And a
Right.
lot of times we're not. A lot of us are on go. And we're not just talking about men, but a lot of us are just on go.
yeah, for real.
We're not thriving in our lives. And someone can appear successful and still be suffering.
Now
Yeah,
that is true. That's a true statement.
that is
Many men also tie their value to what they provide.
Oh,
If they're struggling financially, unemployed, or unable to fill their responsibility, their self worth can take a significant hit. And I know we all have identified or have seen this in a family member that if they're unemployed or feel like they're not able to do it, they handle their responsibilities, you can see them going downhill. You can see the increase of drinking. Like you said, the anger, the violence. They don't know what to do with that.
right.
Nah, definitely. That's definitely a sign of, especially if you can't provide for your family, because society has already painted that picture, right? As a man, you're supposed to provide and lead.
Mm-hmm.
Not saying that a woman can't, right? So
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
again, but society, that's what society has taught us, right? So if you're not providing or if you're not financially at a certain level where society feels like you're showing up as successful, that can lead to depression, right? That can lead to self doubt, not having the self worth, and not having a life worth living, and then that spirals to drinking
Yes.
and aggressive, and doing what you need to do to feel like you matter, right? And
Yeah.
Right.
you don't
Mm-hmm.
have those tools to communicate that or how you feeling, then yeah, you could definitely be in a dark space.
Wow.
Do y'all remember not too it was probably a couple of, no, it might have been a decade ago, probably. I don't know if it was a stock market something happened where a lot of companies and men lost their jobs, and then there was a mass um, alarming rate of suicides and family suicide.
I know
Yeah.
exactly what you're talking about. I can't name the era, but I know
Mm-hmm.
exactly what you're talking about.
Like it was,
That's real. Yeah.
Yeah.
it kept happening. It's like they lost their jobs and their money. And
Mm-hmm.
they not only took themselves out, they took their families out. And you
Yeah.
just kept seeing that in the news. And it was just the scariest thing, a concept to think about. And to think that me, in our culture, we're known to survive, right?
Mm-hmm.
We are survivors. We're going to make things work when we're at our lowest and all of that. But to think in some cultures, men, the value of providing and money is so high
Mm-hmm.
that if it's taken away, you feel like you have nothing left
No.
and you're not a man anymore. And so I can't provide for my family. Like Marcus said, there's no need for me to even be here.
Mm-hmm.
And then if
Yeah.
I can't be here, I don't want my loved ones to suffer while I'm gone. So we're all just going to go together. Like that's a deep, significant feeling where you can't manage your emotions or identify. Um, Iris, what we've been talking about the last couple of
Weeks. Yeah.
yeah, your job is not your
Not your
identity,
identity.
right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Trauma, workplace stress, like that's serious. People really identify who they are by their title and what they provide and what they do. And men really, because like Marcus said, society has placed that role, that gender
Mm-hmm.
role, that you're supposed to be the provider, the strong one.
No, definitely, 100%. And me personally, like my experience, like when I was an undergrad, like my wife made way more than me and literally carried me through undergrad, right? So
Okay.
my perspective is like now the roles have shifted, but that hasn't always been the case. So I have
Mm-hmm.
a different mindset knowing that like, you know, that if it's a partnership, it comes like that, right? You
Yeah.
all
Yeah.
carry each other, right? It's an investment in each other.
Each
But
other.
again, like a lot of men, like you said, they come in. It's just like that's what they're taught young age, right? Finding you got to have this, you got to have a car, you got
Mm-hmm.
to have an income, you got to have
Yeah.
a house, and a lot of stuff. We know that's material stuff. That stuff can come and go at any time.
That's right,
Environment
Marcus.
can come and go. So you got to have that strong foundation within yourself and with God too, in
Yeah.
order to be able to be stable whenever whatever happens
Never.
financially, whatever
Yeah.
weather comes.
Yeah. That's a beautiful thing that you just said. You have to have communication. And I think that's what it boils down to.
Mm-hmm.
Identifying what the problem is or that there's an issue and saying, okay, I can't provide this right now. Let's look at how we're going to manage this together until I get back to what we're used to. And I
Right.
think you, failure is such a big weight for a lot of men
Yeah.
and just in general. And I think because of the emotional detachment that they have, it's hard to put into words or express that because it's a sense of weakness too. So, based on that trauma and generational pain, Marcus, let's discuss trauma because many men carry wounds that they never spoke,
Mm-hmm.
and I think that's a big thing when you're talking about trauma and experiencing things that no man should probably, no child, boy should have to go through,
Yeah.
whether that is molestation, rape, beating, being hungry, um, being mistreated, any of those things. Men don't talk. That's not at the forefront. Those statistics
I
are very low because it's never brought to anyone's attention.
I
So
agree.
can you shed some light on that aspect too? Why do they
Yeah.
carry?
Yeah, I think a lot of it when we talk about, sexual abuse in young men, I think a lot of times it's just a psychoeducation. A lot of times society paints it to where young men can't be sexual abused, right? Like it just feels like
Mm-hmm.
they that's just not a thing. Like you don't really hear stories about it, or when it's happening, they don't know it's abuse, or they don't deem it as being sexually abused, right?
Right.
And then that develops behaviors, right? So if I was had an early sexual experience, early sexual trauma, and now every female that I interact with is hypersexual, right? Or it's just I'm super hypersexual, or I can't be able to maintain relationships with women. I can't have healthy relationships. Well,
Right.
it stems back to that, right? And
Yeah,
I think a lot
Mm-hmm.
of times, a lot of men can't process that. Like my behaviors come from the trauma that I had as a child, but a lot of times young black boys they can't express trauma. It's not okay to talk about your feelings,
Mm-hmm.
right as a young age. You can't talk about being hurt or cry or express things without it being um girl, right? You acting like a girl. Like so a
yeah,
lot of
Mm-hmm.
time it's just that stigma that prevents young men to express their feelings, and then
Right.
as an adult we see it come out in behaviors and actions in our personality. And I think a lot of it's just a cycle, like a cycle of just having being able to communicate, talking about, like you said, communication is very strong and very important when we
yeah.
talk about developing and identifying in those cycles so we can break them.
And society doesn't help because
They don't. They don't. They really don't.
Mm-hmm.
when you are promoting that young boys should be excited about that, being in strip clubs and having women dance on
Yeah.
them, having, we're talking about children, the emotional maturity that they don't have at that time, and
Mm-hmm.
grown men saying, "Go on over there, boy. You know you like." That's a lot you're forcing on somebody who might not be ready for it.
Yeah.
And that's what we're putting out there to these young boys. So if something like that happens, they don't even know that it's trauma, even though their body might be experiencing something else. Their heart and their emotions might be terrified and in fear, and so
Exactly.
not to have that safe space and to even have that conversation with young men about the importance of you know sexual experiences and knowing what to do and when to do it and all of that. It's in the forefront. When we came up watching TV, you didn't have all that stuff. The most you saw was
No.
people get close and then it goes to the next scene.
Yeah.
Right. Right. Right.
Now it's all on in we in the bed with them. Like
Yeah. It's
Mhm.
hard. Yeah. It
Yeah.
is. It's hard,
Yeah.
man. I
it's
have a
very
high schooler. Yeah, so it's hard to prevent them from seeing certain things because they got YouTube, TikTok, like all this access to just things that you could try to monitor. Trust me, you could try to put every app on their phone. It's just you can't prevent it. So, like I said, we do a great job of just very enforcing how to interact with young women. Like
Yeah.
that's the biggest thing with the boys, that making sure that you're being kind, respectful, talking to them in an appropriate manner. Like that's the biggest thing. You got to teach them early because society, like you just said, it will strain them in the wrong direction.
You're right, Marcus. A lot of parents have to have early conversations with their
Yeah,
children about stuff that they probably would have waited till they were teenagers, but because of, like you said, the access that they have, the social
yeah,
media and all this stuff is right there at the forefront now.
right
And
there.
and you want to get to it before society shows it to your child and put their imprint on it. And so that's another thing when it comes to men, the importance of having those male role models and having those conversations. Because a lot of Iris and I talk about this a lot in this podcast about the family dynamics.
Yeah,
A lot of families now in society that are not growing up in two-parent household, and
yeah,
so the importance of having the male figure in the house. I often wonder who I would be if I didn't have my father growing up in the household. what version of Cristy would you guys get? You know, the importance of you hear all the time, I can be the mama and the daddy. That's not true.
You
And
know, it's not. It's hard.
that's the
Mhm.
reality of the situation. It's not true. You need both parents to really um give a child a fighting chance to become an adequate functioning adult, to be able to navigate this world, because it's getting scarier by the minute.
No, absolutely right. I have a daughter, and I know 100% fact that I can't be her. I can't do half the stuff that a mom would do. Like I can be
Right.
too, I can do a lot of things, but I can't replace being a mother figure in that aspect.
Yeah.
So you're right.
We often see men who have become experts at surviving, but not knowing what it feels like to truly feel safe. And I'm gonna have to do a better job as a therapist to really ask the male client, do you feel safe? Like, I
Mhm.
know that you go to work every day and you put your best foot forward and you check all the boxes, but internally, do you feel safe um in your life where you are? I don't think men get that question often, Marcus.
Not at all. Not at all. I think, when we don't feel a lot of times, especially growing up younger, I know myself, like just transitioning from one side of town to Charlotte to another side of town, like it was a big transition and I didn't feel safe, right? So a lot of times in that time, like I said, I know times has changed, but a lot of that's when you got a lot of individuals that was joining gangs, right, for protection
Mhm.
and to be around groups of individuals to feel protected, right? So I think, when we don't feel safe, it's not okay to say like, "Oh, I don't feel safe." Why? Because
Yeah,
that don't show that you're tough, right?
right.
Mhm.
We're already kind of groomed or
Mhm.
expected to be this tough machismo individual at all
Mhm.
times. Even when we don't feel safe, we got to act like we are, right? We got to have this pseudo confidence, this pseudo image of we're this tough guy, and in reality, like we're afraid or we're trying to find our way. And it's okay. And as a father, understanding that, being that I was that young man one time, I highly encourage my sons to be vulnerable, right? I ask them questions and communicate with them and let them know it's okay. Like I was just talking to my son yesterday. Like he started high school, he got invited to practice with the varsity team, and he was terrified, but he wanted to
Okay.
be. He tried to act like he wasn't. I'm like, bro, I can tell when your body language change. I
Yeah.
Right.
understand when
Right.
you're scared. It's okay to be scared. It's okay to be uncomfortable with this transition. Like you went from middle school to high school, and they're putting you in with high schoolers that's 11th,
Right.
12th grade. It's
Bigger than you.
okay to be uncomfortable, right? So,
Mhm.
and I think the more that I talked to him about that, I could see him putting his guard down and sharing his feelings. So it's just us as fathers and as men, to just communicate and let them know it's okay, right? That whole machismo image, man, like it's unhealthy. It's unhealthy to carry around, and it just creates a generation of individuals who don't know how to communicate or share their feelings.
That's
That
very
now that's true. So true. And
yeah.
Chris, that makes me think about when people don't deal with their, like I say, this if they don't feel safe or don't really deal with trauma, that results right back to them managing the pain with substance use.
Oh yeah. Mhm.
Because that most of the times, like you said, the background that we come from, especially the black background, we don't talk about those feelings, whether
No.
it's whether you're a man or a woman, and we're a lot of times taught to suppress that, and you don't talk about. We said that a lot of times you don't talk about things that go on in the home.
Yeah.
And you could have been dealing with a lot of things stemming from childhood, stemming from not having enough food, stemming from your parents working all the time. You didn't have that support system. So now, as a man or as a woman, you go out there and find things that's not, like you said, Marcus, that's not healthy for you and don't know how to deal with it. And we do become scared and be in unhealthy relationships or unhealthy situations.
I totally agree.
Totally agree. Let, that leads us right into relationships.
Mhm.
Marcus, how does untreated mental health impact marriages, dating relationships, and parenting?
100%. I think I'm gonna say it this way, like you can be great father and be unhealed or a great husband, but I don't think you really get the full experience until you check in with yourself, right? Because I could be in the marriage and be checked out. I could be a
Uh-huh.
parent checked
Fact.
out, be on autopilot. You know
Mhm.
what I'm saying? Like that don't mean I can't be in a house or be in a marriage, but you don't get the full experience, right? I think it gives you the full experience of being present. You know what I'm saying? Being gentle, being
Yes.
and then learning how to communicate, right? Because it's ups and downs in parenting and it's ups and downs in marriage. So being able to communicate your feelings and be able to work through those ups and downs. I think it's a learning experience too. It's gonna be, as you go,
That's
you
true.
learn how to. Because I never had a high schooler before, so this is my first time having a high schooler before.
Right.
But
Right.
it takes me to be healed and be able to be compassionate and gentle.
Mhm.
Because high schoolers, they can take you there. They can take you
Yes,
all the
yes.
way there, but I got to be healed and be able to communicate, understand, and give him his voice, right? Let him
Yeah.
voice
Help them find it. Mhm.
how he feels. So I think it helps you get a full experience of those relationships. I'm not gonna say you can't be healed and not be in those situations, but being healed helps you get the full experience of it.
I like how you said full experience. When you are well, you're whole, and you're healthy, life is so much more brighter.
Mm-hmm.
You are experiencing things from a from a healed lens, not a cracked one.
Yeah.
And you know those little things we used to look through where those were they prisms or something, and
Oh yeah, the little kaleidoscope thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, yeah,
that's almost what your life is like, your
yeah.
view when you're unhealed.
Mm-hmm.
But when you get healed and you are renewed and you're functioning from a healthy space where the conversation is um, assertive and it's a give and take and it's understanding, there's empathy, there's sympathy, and we're growing together because we all, even as parents, like you said, Marcus, you're just about to, this is your first time experiencing a high schooler. We have to grow and evolve
Yep.
with our children and also with each other and ourselves. The
Mm-hmm.
20-year-old Marcus, the 30-year-old Cristy is not going to be the same as 40 and 50. We haven't been there before. So we
Mm-hmm.
got to navigate that in itself. And so in order to do that, you have to be in a healthy place in order to see this is a problem. I haven't been here before. I don't know how to navigate. Let me go connect with somebody who's already been there
Yep.
and be
Great.
open to what they have to share with you and see if you can apply that to your life. So that was good. Mark.
That great.
Yeah,
'Cause
really.
growing up with me, it was children were seen, not heard.
I
So
heard
Mm-hmm.
you know what I'm saying? So,
right.
Right.
but again, understanding that's how I grew up. Like I said, and my children probably super mouthy at this point. It might be my fault, but I do give their voice, and I want them to feel like they can express themselves and express their feelings. So, like you said, it's just being able to be present and have that heal and understand that you got to grow over time.
That's true. That's good.
Marcus said a lot right there, Chris, especially when you got to be able to hear that person, hear what they're going through.
Yeah.
And that's important as a parent, because in today's society, a lot of kids are not doing that much talking. They're not shedding the light on like what's going on with them at school or when they're outside. They could be bullied, and that goes back to even like relationship issues, like you was talking about, Christy. People in marriages or dating. A lot of times, I remember some of my friends talking to me was saying like they be having issues within their relationships. Like, I know he loves me, but I really don't know what he's feeling.
Mhm.
And for me, I'm like, how you know?
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
you say you yeah, if is he communicating? If he's not communicating,
Well,
how do you
I-
know that he loves you? And then then the same breath you're gonna say, but I don't know what he's feeling.
yeah, I don't understand that.
Yeah, that and that's what I used to say. I'd be like, I don't get that one. So
Like, are
Nah,
y'all having a conversation?
nah,
Yeah,
yeah, we having
nah.
conversations here. That's why it goes back to communication is so important.
yeah. And like Marcus said, that's where children often learn emotional regulation by watching adults.
Yep.
A
100.
lot of time when I worked in intensive in home, Marcus, a lot of times when I walk into the homes and I've been there and I'm observing the environment, I see it's not the child that's the problem.
Mm-hmm.
They are mimicking what they see and they
Yep.
experience. And
Yep.
so a lot of times as parents, we have to really observe, and adults, what are people seeing from us? What are we showing people? What are we showcasing?
Yeah.
Because a lot of times that's what they're seeing, that's their perception of you. And as a father, a mother, as a sister, a brother, what are we showing people when we present ourselves? Are we showing a healthy or an unhealthy version of ourselves? Are
Yeah.
we walking through this world navigating in an unhealthy or an unhealthy space? Because
Mhm.
that's how we that's how we think, the cognitive aspect, but then there's the behavioral aspect to it. What we think shows up in how we express ourselves, our behaviors with people. And so
Yeah.
when you're talking about men, if they're constantly working and not, like you said, Iris, they said she's saying he loves me, but he doesn't share with me how he feels. There should be a pause, a stop moment there then, because something is unbalanced there. And so we have to learn how to break the silence and how to heal. So let's go there with that. Let's look closely about healing. Marcus, what advice would you give men who are struggling but afraid to reach out?
I would, like I said, as a therapist, I have a therapist, and I think that was the best thing that I was able to, like, the best resource. And it wasn't even more so just like, oh, let me get a therapist to work through my problems. Because at the time when I got a therapist, I feel like I was at the top of the world, like I had just
Right,
graduated.
right.
You know what I'm
Mhm.
saying? But I felt like it helped me um learn things about myself and patterns about myself that I didn't know, and kind of like where those behaviors and patterns came from, right? So it's kind of like gardening. It helped me like dig up all the like the old roots and all things,
Yes, yes.
plant seeds, right? So I was able to learn how to communicate more, emotional regulation skills, like being a parent of three children. It helped me learn how to balance. Like I like
Mhm.
my dad didn't have three children, so I didn't have nobody that could tell me like, oh, how to be a parent of three. So it just helped me kind of learn like myself and kind of be able to just stay present in the moment. So I think the that would be the best thing. Find you a therapist that you trust, right? Interview them, make sure it's a good fit for you. And have your faith, right? I know everybody has different religion and different faith,
Mhm.
but I think it's very important. I think my faith has helped me with the ups and downs, right? Like being able to be kind to myself, forgiving for myself, right? I've always been the person I am today. So not to be hard on myself and kind of beat
Right.
myself up for something I did 10 years ago, 20 years.
That's
Exactly.
good.
You know
Mhm.
what I'm saying? Like my faith has helped me know that things can be forgiven, right? And my God
Right.
is forgiven. So I think a lot of that you just got to do some self work and find those support systems that help you get to where you want to go.
Yeah. I think you went ahead and answered the next
Yeah,
question.
he did.
How to
Because
heal
my question was gonna be about practical ways for the healing journey, but you went on with tied that right on
So
in.
yeah, it's
That
hand
was
in
good.
hand. It's definitely hand in hand. Like it's
Yeah.
definitely hand in hand. And I think as men, sometimes we feel like we know those resources are out there, but we feel like if we try to pursue them, it makes us weak, or it makes us, like you said, a lot of times we just feel like if we pray about it, we can go about our business and be healed and good. But sometimes we just need wrap services. We need more than one resource, man, and that's okay.
You worded that beautifully. We need wrap services sometimes. Sometimes you need to be wrapped up.
That it is. It's
Yeah,
okay.
and
It's
that's
it's
fine.
totally fine. Yep.
Healing isn't about becoming someone different, and I think that's important to know. It's about becoming whole. Nobody's trying to make you into something you're not. We're
Yeah.
trying to extend and better the version of you that's already here. Um, you deserve support. You deserve healing. You deserve peace. You just deserve to be happy and whole. Um, and that's the message we're trying to share today to the men out there who are listening to this episode. And so, Marcus, we want to thank you for joining us, for being with us and sharing your experience. This is, I think, it's going to be very impactful, and hopefully, it's a start for some men to get where they need to be.
Yes, thank you. I appreciate you for having me. Like I said, you two are one of my two favorite people. So anytime I definitely would jump on. And like I said, hopefully someone hears this and that can get them the support they need, the resources they need, so they can continue their journey.
Most definitely. We want to thank everybody for listening. We encourage you to check in on the men in your lives, not just physically, but emotionally. If today's conversation resonated with you, please share this episode with someone who may need it. Remember, strength isn't found in suffering and silence. Strength is found in seeking support, embracing healing, and choosing wellness. Be well, be encouraged, and we'll see you next Wednesday on Well Life. Take care.